Are you aware that over 4.9 billion people worldwide are on social media? And did you know that more than half of all adults get their news from social media platforms? Think about the younger generations, how high that percentage must be. In this episode, we are going to dive into the undeniable influence of social media on our lives in general, with an emphasis on business and politics, and discuss both the positive and negative aspects. Join us as we explore the importance of understanding this relationship and provide strategies to navigate the ever-evolving landscape. From the spread of misinformation to building your brand, we've got you covered. Tune in now for a thoughtful discussion on social media from the perspective of myself, a youngish mom, and my teenage daughter. Hi, I'm Jenna Dix, and I'm always rambling. Just ask my husband. I have a great family and a pretty cool life, but I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's hard to say, but my goal is to inspire and educate to help others hopefully find life beyond an addiction. I'm all things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Getting healthy, momming, and politics. Get offended easily? You better stop listening. There is no point in wasting that Botox by stressing yourself out listening to a podcast. Welcome to Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Today's episode brought to you by products and services that I'm thoroughly addicted to.
Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed and uncertain during the home buying process, especially in today's market? Spring and summer can be a crazy time to buy, but don't let that hold you back from your dreams. Look no further. Call my dad, Mike Dix, a realtor with Pemberton Homes. He is here to make your experience stress-free and exciting. With years of experience and a passion for helping his clients, Mike is an expert in the Minnesota and Wisconsin markets. He understands the unique needs of a buyer in today's market and will guide you every step of the way. Don't miss out on your dream home. Contact Mike Dix today. Check out the show notes for his information and start your home buying journey with confidence.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Today we have a special guest. For her third time popping on to the podcast, we have Haley, my bonus daughter. Welcome, Hales.
Hello.
Hales is definitely one I love to have on the podcast, not only because, she's my kid, but she brings a fun, different perspective that, I don't like to consider myself too old yet. I mean, I'm not 40, right? We're still under 40. That's a win. But just getting that perspective of the younger generation, I feel is so helpful. I've always joked, if you want to know, social media or anything of technology, bring a teenager in. I think there's so much truth to that, and it does go so much further beyond social media. But today, we're going to be talking social media. So why the heck would I not bring her in here? So we're going to get my perspective, what I've experienced, not only just being on social media as a human, but being on social media as a business owner, being on social media with political focus, and then we're going to get a nice perspective of a 15-year-old on social media as well, which is kind of cool because we actually don't even we have some overlap, but we have different platforms that we both use as well. So with that, make sure as we're diving in here to subscribe to the podcast. If you have not yet done that, make sure whatever platform you're on, subscribe so that way the episodes automatically will download to your device. That way you don't even need to think about it. And if you have not yet rated and reviewed the podcast, I highly, highly encourage and ask you to do that, please. Give a little shout out to Haley. She's on here now. This is her third time. Let's give her a little kudos for all her hard work. And I think it's brave and bold that 15-year-old is getting on a podcast. So we definitely appreciate that love. And we're going to be talking about social media and the algorithms today anyway. Ratings and reviews help us in the algorithms. So we appreciate that. All right, with that, we're going to jump right in. Social media. As I said in the introduction, 4.9 billion people worldwide are on social media platforms, which there's a ton of social media platforms. I mean, they're changing all the time. We're getting new ones all the time. So myself, social media platforms that I use, I will say on the regular, I use Facebook because I'm old. I use Instagram. I use Twitter. I use LinkedIn because I'm old, apparently, because she's laughing at me. And I use YouTube. I think those are the main ones that I use. You're laughing hysterically. What do you use?
Okay, I guess I knew like YouTube was like a social media app, but I never really think of it like that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But so I guess YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I have a lot that I'm like actually thinking about it. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on like Twitter a little bit, like just every once in a while.
Cruising.
Yeah. B-roll, Pinterest, and then Visco. That seems like a lot.
It does seem like a lot. But you don't go onto all of them a lot. Or you do. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So, as you heard, I mean, we have a little overlap. We both have Instagram, YouTube. You use YouTube more as like a video finder.
Yeah.
Basically, right?
Yeah, like post.
Yeah. See, and I do to a point, but like I like my makeup tutorials on there. And
the Amazon reviews.
You can't beat those. If you've never watched an Amazon review, what are you doing with your life? I mean, come on. Watching people like go through their favorite Amazon finds has definitely triggered a few purchases in this house. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay though. Because usually they're like on the lower end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people are actually starting to migrate to YouTube. Now that they have lives, they have shorts, they have podcasts, they have videos, more creators, I should say, from what I've been seeing in my research as of recent. It's taking off a little bit again, because I think it kind of
Well, I'm sure it's
studied.
like TikTok.
Yeah.
And then like Instagram Reels.
Yeah.
But now that they have, like you said, they're shorts.
Yeah, they have the YouTube shorts, which the cool thing, I mean, we're like diving into the weeds here for a second, and we'll rein it back in a moment, but the cool thing is there's overlap. So if you make a reel or what are they called on TikTok?
TikTok.
Oh, a TikTok. Okay. So if you make
Like a video, a TikTok video.
okay. So if you make a TikTok, you can utilize that within Instagram by making it into a reel or then into a short on YouTube. So it's like multi-purposed. Yeah.
I've seen like a lot of overlap between TikTok and like Instagram.
Yeah. I have too. Which, I mean, it makes it... I have because she just gave me a dirty look. Like, you're not on Twitter. Or you're not on TikTok. But people post TikToks on other social media platforms, and it still has a little logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not on TikTok. I don't even have the app on my phone. Never have.
It's like, whoa, that's crazy. I can do that.
All right. Okay, so let's rein it back. So 4.9 billion worldwide. People utilizing social media. Over half of the adults on social media get their news from social media platforms. Which made me think, okay, over half of all adults are going to go to Twitter, Instagram, maybe TikTok, I don't know, to get their news, which doesn't shock me because I actually was just doing I think it was when I was doing a radio interview. I'm trying to remember. I was doing an interview with someone, and it was somebody that, talked about, I think it was a radio, anyway, and he was talking about where he gets his news, and he's like, yeah, if I don't see it on Instagram or Twitter, And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, that's so true. Like, so many people, it's so common now. And that's adults. So think about, like, Hale's generation. I'm sure you guys are way over half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, way, way over half, I bet.
Right. Because Haley and I, truth be told, we kind of had this conversation already a little bit. And we were talking about... So we both have news apps on our phones as well. But usually what triggers us to, like, go into them is we will see something on social media. Mm-hmm. And you want to verify. So then you, like, go into... Or you want to read more or whatever. So then you go into the news outlet.
Yeah, like, most of the time for me, because I follow Fox on Instagram. Like, Fox News.
Yeah, and it brings you right to the story.
I have to, like, search through the app to find it.
Oh, yeah. It takes a second.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's bad sometimes. Sometimes I just quit. Not even gonna lie. Sometimes I just quit.
And Alpha News is the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah, same. At least from what I saw recently, like, so a lot of them, you'll see like it's basically like clickbait. You see like a headline from a story, and then you click on it, it brings you to their page, and then... big for it. Well, no, it brings you to your page, and then you have to click the link to bring you to another web page, right? And then, yeah, you have to dig through all the images to match the clickbait headline. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It can take a sec.
Yeah. And sometimes I just don't think it's that important. And I just move on.
It's not interesting enough. I'm done. But, okay, so nonetheless, a lot of times you catch the headlines on social media, but I think we're both doing a little bit more due diligence than the majority, because then we're like, oh, what the hell is going on? All right, let's dig some more. Let's look at some outlets. There are some actual media sources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I get most of my information just from you, though.
Well, that's because I'm a nerd and I like to tell you guys all the updates.
Yeah, I like it, though.
Well, I used to be one that would, like, look at the news outlets like a couple times a day when I was addicted, right? So in the morning and the evening, I would read up on all the different news apps that I had. And then I scaled it back to once a day. And now I'm like, I don't have time to go through 4 news apps every day right now.
4?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, let me think. Local, national. And then I go on Alpha, so another local, but it's more like a scope, a focus that I agree with more. And I just feel like they give a more, as much as I just said, it agrees with me more. I feel it's actually more unbiased. They definitely are more right-leaning, but all the other ones around here are very much left-leaning, so I feel like it's a little more balanced. So 2 local, 1 national, and then the all sides.
Is AP?
AP's like all over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But All Sides is a good one, and her and I talked about this earlier as well. All Sides is a good one for you to download because it gives you all sides, right, left, and center.
Yeah, and it tells you which one's which.
Yes. So you can be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to read this article that's extremely right-leaning, or... oh, this one's center? Okay. And usually the center is nice because it's literally just fact. There's no opinion. There's no bias. And you can so see that. And then you read the other ones, and it's almost laugh-worthy. Like, I'm conservative, and, like, sometimes even reading the center and then reading the right one, I'm like, oh, goodness.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so... I think that there's definitely a lot of truth to that you do get your news from the social media. Some people do further digging, but I'm curious how many people do further digging. Probably not a ton.
Especially not in my generation either.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff, right? Social media. The truth is, I think we all know, social media impacts and influences masses of people. It has that potential to reach so many people. And there's good to that, and there's definitely some bad to that. And today I really, I want to talk about social media in general. It definitely will trickle into kind of how it impacts business, because that's my background, right? Like, I've used social media to build my business. And then on top of that, with politics, if you don't think social media has had an impact on politics, oh, sister, we need to sit down. Like, we need to have a talk, because there's definitely been a solid link between social media and political focuses within the country, within the nation, within the world. So yeah, we're going to talk all the good stuff today. So we're going to talk the good, the bad, not the ugly, because we're on Ramblings of an Addict, so we're talking tips, right? So the good, the bad, and we're going to talk some strategies or tips that you can incorporate into your social media usage. So today our format's kind of not so OCD type A organized like I usually like, but I think it's good. We're going to talk about a few different categories of social media, the good sides of it, the bad side, sprinkle in some tips, and then at the end, after we've done all 4 categories, I just have some random tips to kind of circle back on to make sure that we get included, because I think incorporating strategies and tips into your social media use can be incredibly helpful. So the first one, rapid info, right? There's no doubt about it. If you're on social media, it's quick. You can get essentially real-time updates with things going on. Her and I, like I said, when we were talking about this earlier, we were touching on, a couple different things. I know one thing we talked about was the Minnesota riots. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were on our phones watching, I forgot a social media I'm on. Snapchat.
Do you use it a lot, though? No,
not at all. Your sister uses it for filters, pretty much, and that's about it. And then I creep on some people.
Nice.
I'm not going to lie. And people send me some. Like, I still get some from other people. I just don't send any.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Grandma, my mom, she sends me videos of my kid when she's got my daughter. So, I mean, I don't really want to get rid of the app. But yeah, so real-time updates. When the riots were happening here in Minnesota, of course, I'm like on all the regular apps like Facebook, Instagram. We did have a decent amount of live news updates as well. I mean,
we were watching all those like news outlets.
Yeah, we didn't shut the TV off for like 3 days.
No.
I mean, it was on till, that was nuts. But
was it the one day? Wasn't it like 3 o'clock?
I think it was like 4:30 in the morning on Friday. Dad and I finally went to bed. Because they were bringing fires into, like, the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, so Snapchat was one that I was watching as well for real-time updates, because they have that map feature.
Mm-hmm. With, like, the colors.
Yeah, showing where, like, activity is.
Yeah. Like, the red is like, there's a lot going on.
Yep. So I was clicking on those all the time. I mean, I just remember seeing Minneapolis and St. Paul. I mean, they were like dark red circles that were ginormous. And it's all these images. And it was insane. But it gave us real-time updates of what was going on. Like, literally, somebody would Snapchat something, and I would see it on my Snapchat 2 minutes later. Sitting in Woodbury on my couch in my pajamas. It was nuts. What was the other one we were talking about with real-time updates that we were using it for?
DeSantis announcing.
Oh, yeah. When DeSantis just announced a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And we had my phone going on Twitter, your phone, and then our family friend, neighbor.
Yeah. My best friend was over as well, and her phone was on. And if you paid attention, I mean, he crashed the app. Like, the whole app went down.
With Musk on the stream. I think that was the best part.
I think that was funny, too. That was funny.
Crash with the
owner. But it was nuts, because we, obviously in the moment, like, you don't know exactly what's going on. So at first I thought it was my phone, like, what the hell's going on? So I kept refreshing, and then Jesse was trying, and then Haley was trying, and no one's was working, so it's like, it must have crashed, like, something went on. But, I mean, literally, yeah, you're like, it's instant, I want to know now. It was nuts. And the cool thing about that, right, whether it's you're watching, you know, something like an announcement like that, or you're watching something more tragic like the riots, you're getting that rapid, right now, in your lap information. You are in the know so freaking fast. And it makes me think about, you know, a long time ago when you would essentially be waiting for like a guy on a horseback to get there with an update. Like, really? And we can't wait a half a second for a screen to refresh. And I think the biggest thing is it's nice because you get to share in experiences with other people, and you get to be in the moment with them. And that human need of being part of it or joining in, like, you are part of it. You feel like I am part of the action, which I know we talked about it when we went over stuff. Like, that was definitely something you're like, yeah, I've been there. And you like had a guilty face. But I don't think you really need a guilty face, right? Like, I think we all want to be part of it. Mm-hmm. And not so much like explaining it this way. You're driving by, you know, a car accident. Everyone's had like chicken necks. Like, you want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that, obviously.
No. You just want to know.
Right. Everybody wants to know. So, obviously, for the most part, all of that is good. Like, that, it's decent outcomes from social media. It's also nice when it's so fast because you can have immediate crisis management. Whether this be, you know, if you're a politician, obviously, I mean, you could hopefully put out a fire really fast if there's an issue. Or let's say like you're a business and, you know, for example, Minnesota, happens all the time. Snowstorm hits, a business closes. They can put that out on their social media and hopefully the majority of their clients are going to see that. Versus back in the day, I mean, you flip your close sign and then hope that no one drives there. Now you can put out that immediate notification. So all that, right? For the most part, that's pretty good. You know, same with like Amber Alerts, things of that sort. You can use it for good. But flip that. Flip the card. Because of that rapidness, because of that ability to get information from point A to point B, hoping that it's good, obviously you can flip that and it can be bad information, rumors, misinformation, creating a crisis potentially, right? Very, very, very quickly. I felt like you had an example when we talked about this. Did you? Am I making that up in my head?
I might have. I can't remember.
No worries. But either way, right? It's just being mindful on this one. That, okay, cool. We can, you know, we don't need... It's a Tom Revere, right? On the back of the horse, riding along, screaming out the message. She's giving me the I have no clue face. Cracks me up. What was your example?
Well, I just think, like, you might think, like, in the moment you're getting the right information, but you're not.
Correct.
So even if, you have good intentions, like, putting information out there, it could end up being wrong.
You're creating a crisis with your fake info. For sure. We've all seen that. Absolutely. So, all right. Moving on to the second thing that we were kind of thinking about when it comes to social media, how it has goods and bads. social media is I don't want to say 1,000,000%. Let's say 99% customizable. Obviously, there's some things in there that we just can't change. We can't tweak because of how the platforms are set up. But they are so customizable nowadays, which is amazing. I mean, from you as a user, what you're looking at. So going in, creating the account, or not creating, selecting the accounts that you want to follow. So who's going to be popping up on your stream, who you're going to be looking at, things of that sort. But you also then have the ability to customize who you are on the platform. Essentially, creating your brand. And if you're an individual, obviously this is going to look a little bit different. If you're purely using this for funsies, Haley raises her hand. The idea of a podcast or of a social media brand is like, I'm just going to be me. But if you're a business, if you're a politician, a brand is very much in the focus. So much so a lot of times that people will get marketing people to help them, right? But I want to challenge you for a sec, Hills, because I do think, not everybody, but I do think everyone kind of has like a who I am that's going to come through their social media in their brand, in their quote unquote brand anyway. Like we were talking about you earlier.
Yeah. Like mine's mainly like sports, and then I, like on my story, I have highlights on Instagram that are like politics and faith.
Yep.
Stuff.
So your brand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, we don't label it that, but essentially everyone kind of has who they are. They're they're customizing who they are on there.
Yeah.
So this gives us the ability then to customize who we're connecting with. Whether it be you're selecting, I only want to look at these accounts. So, okay, you're only going to, for the most part, be connecting with them. I think Twitter's a little different because Twitter pops up random people all the time.
Yeah.
But usually it's because they're connected to other connections.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, so-and-so liked.
Yep.
I feel like I've seen that.
Yep, exactly. Where you see way less of that on a lot of other social medias.
Mm-hmm.
But you also are creating who you're going to connect with on your own page with your own brand, because for the most part, like for example, mine, like it's very much, like my few things that I focus on are, my family, faith, politics, and health and wellness. Right? So a young 17-year-old boy who cares about motocross and
football.
Yeah, probably won't pop up on I will not pop up on his stuff.
No.
Right. So it's just nice that you get to create your image and what you're seeing. We're going to flip it for a second here. Because what can happen, because it is so customizable, especially when it comes to who you're looking at, right? You can essentially put yourself in an echo chamber. If you are not mindful of who you are following, you can start to notice all of a sudden, like, all I'm seeing is people that think and agree with every thought that I have. They think exactly like I do. We are so like-minded. We are so aligned, right? Everything that they're saying reinforces your thoughts. Nothing that you're being exposed to is giving you other perspectives. And this can be slightly dangerous to what could go on in society, right? If we're never seeing things that challenge our perspective, we're going to continue to think the same way all the time. This is why, for example, like I have been very mindful of, okay, I am conservative. Make sure I go in and start to follow some liberal leaders or some liberal news outlets, things of that sort. So that way I'm getting that other perspective as well. You know, sometimes I see things, I can't even lie. I laugh my ass off. But it challenges my perspective for a moment. And I think that is important. We don't want to just be surrounded with our own thoughts 24/7, or we will never grow. We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah. So for me, most of the people my age are more left-leaning.
Yep.
And so, like, peak of 2020, like, riots and all of that madness, I guess.
Yeah.
There were so many posts going around on, like, people my age on all of their pages.
Right.
So I was able to see that. So it's not necessarily that I follow, like, leaders or news outlets to challenge my thinking. It was more of that, but it's kind of calmed down a little bit, so I don't see it as much. But
Right.
even, like, celebrities, too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, most of them are
Yeah.
more liberal, so I do see that, I guess, a little bit. But
I'm sure. I
not
don't
as
follow
much.
a ton of celebrities, so that makes sense for you, that you get that perspective from that.
yeah, just, like, actors and, like, actresses, because a lot of them right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's definitely some that aren't, but a lot of them. Yes, I agree. And that's funny, because I'm just going to digress and backtrack a couple minutes, but I'll get right back on track in a sec. But, so she said that I share news with them. Totally true. I give a lot of world updates, nationwide updates, political updates, that kind of stuff. News about celebrity stuff, like, what do they call that? When it's like news about, like, celebrities in Hollywood, and what's that called? Well, we'll look that up, whatever that's called, because the word is totally mind-blanking on that at the moment. That's you for me. So we help each other out, girl. We help each other. All right, so if you have never watched the movie The Social Dilemma, or it's a documentary, not a movie, but the documentary The Social Dilemma on Netflix, highly encourage.
And it's only on Netflix. I looked it up earlier.
Did you? Yeah. Only on Netflix. But it talks about exactly that. Like, getting yourself into these echo chambers. And even though I intentionally follow more liberal accounts, because of how the social dilemma, right? Because of how the algorithms work, the social media platform's goal is to keep your ass on their platform. They don't want you to leave, right? That's why a lot of times if people put posts with links or things of that sort, they don't really promote those very much because they don't want people to leave their platform. That's their business. So, their algorithms will notice, hey, this chick, you know, she's got a mix of liberal and conservative things on here. And, you know, she spends, I have no idea, I'm just making up a number. She spends 5 times longer looking at the conservative ones versus the liberal ones. Make sure you add in more liberal or more conservative ones into her feed. She will hang out longer.
Or she's liking and sharing.
Correct.
Those things more.
Yep, exactly. And that's exactly it. So you, number one, have to be mindful to expand your window anyway. But then also know that, I mean, social media is smart. It's kind of scary how smart social media is. But just be conscious of, am I living in an echo chamber? The other flip side of all that, so we talked about, you know, customizing your feed, but we also talked about how you can customize your own brand and your image and who you're putting out. The flip side of that is, holy shit, right? People are going to get to know you. And some people, that's really exciting. You know, if you're trying to build a business or you're trying to become somebody that's going to run for office and fingers crossed win, you want to get people to know you. But it is scary. People are going to start to know you. You're going to be essentially, out there for people to judge, criticize, hopefully love and, support. But let's be real, there's always going to be people on the flip side of that as well. So that in itself can be more on the negative side of things. All right, moving into number 3. So we talked about the customization and we talked about the rapid info. Moving into utilizing social media for increased engagement and participation. Definitely a win, right? Typically, it's either free or if you can figure out how to work the advertising on the platform you're on, usually it's not super expensive. I'm sure you can spend a lot of money, and I know, some politicians have spent some decent amounts on there, but it's still, for the most part, much cheaper than any other marketing avenue. Sometimes, if you're really good with social media and you start to build a solid base, it can be free. Because if people are liking and they're sharing and they're talking about it and they're commenting, it's going to spread organically on its own, which is ideally the whole goal, right? Mm-hmm. And the nice thing, so let's say you got a few bucks and you're like, yeah, I want to expand further and farther and faster. Then you throw some bucks down on this and you pay for some targeted advertising. And the targets are amazing because you can drill it down so incredibly specific. I want this to go to moms in, for example, I want it to go to moms in Woodbury that are between the ages of 28 and 38 and have, more than one child. You can target it so specifically. That way, you are really directing your message to the people you want to be receiving it. And another nice thing about it is then you get to see data, real-time data of how things are working for you. Obviously, then there can be some trial and correction. Let's say you throw some ads out there. You're like, whoa, this is not working for me. You tweak it, you change it, you correct it. But you also then have the ability to see how things are going to land. So whether you're a business owner and you're going to be launching a new product, or you're a politician and you are exploring a new point for your platform, you put it out there, test it. Whether you put it in a live or you put it in a TikTok or you put it anywhere, right? You get to see how people will respond. Is it shared a lot? Are they talking shit? Are they supporting you and saying, wow, this is amazing? How can I get this? What can we do to support you? Things of that sort. You get that real-time response. But let's flip this. Do you have anything? No? Okay. Flip it. At least for me, the biggest downside to all of this, from my perspective, was figuring out the ads. Yeah, you can dial them in real nice and tight. You can have those targets specific. It's typically pretty cheap. But you can also fuck it up. I totally miss the target. You can overpay. You can dial it in completely incorrectly. You can have somebody helping you that you think is doing a good job and they aren't, and you have no clue because you don't understand the system, and then you're trusting and they did it wrong. You really have to be cautious with that perspective, because figuring out ads definitely is going to take time. I'm very transparent. I used to do this for a living back in, oh my gracious, 2018. So, or 2017 rather. So 6 years ago, I had independent contracts that I was working doing their Facebook ads. Haley's looked at me like, what? Yeah, I did. And I was good at it. I would not have a clue how to do it any longer because it has changed so much in the last, 6 years. So that, I think, is the biggest downside to this point, is figuring out the system, or at least finding someone that you trust to do it. Any thoughts from you on this one, my dear?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of covered it already, but like the downside, just, you get the wrong algorithm, or I said that wrong. You hit the wrong audience, and then you just get a bunch of hate for whatever, like if it's a product, business,
right,
or whatever you're like saying politically. Yeah, it could just
for sure
completely backfire, and then the people that do see it and they could agree could see those comments and, oh wait, I don't agree with this,
Right. Well, and it makes me think too, like, so for example, you're a politician, you are pro-gun, and your stuff goes to a group that is completely the opposite somehow. Like, that's the target swap. That would be some money poorly spent, number one. Number two, you're going to be dealing with a lot of nasty comments. I think we had a candidate that was local here. She did different social media advertising last year. And it did work to a point. I know, I also was hearing from adults that they were seeing her stuff. But I also know a lot of her stuff was going to kids as well, which, hey, maybe that was the goal. I don't exactly know. I didn't ask about her targets. Right. Haley just lipped me the name. She totally nailed it.
Yeah, because I saw YouTube ads.
Yep. Haley saw her ads multiple times. I know, so this candidate actually told me how she was at McDonald's one day and a young boy went up to her. I saw your ad. And don't get me wrong, like, name recognition is name recognition, period. But if you are doing this and you are able to niche it in on accounts that are only adults, and who knows, maybe that boy was on his mom's account. Because truth be told, McKenna uses my account, right? So she's going to see the ads that are geared for mommy. But you have your own account.
I'm not even gonna lie, it's probably, my YouTube is probably set to higher age.
It just clicked
because
for her.
I made my, Gmail and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. I do remember that. Okay, fair. But be cautious. Just think about that. Make sure you are thinking about your targets as well. So that's a good point, Taylor Ray. All right. Moving into our fourth and final, before we just get into our smorgasbord of tips, right? Being ethical, right? Or essentially, following the rules of social media. Most of us would think, well, duh, that's kind of common sense, right? I mean, I think that in the beginning, it was even more so common sense. Like, you follow the rules. You don't go on there and act like an a-hole. And for people more on, and I'm gonna put out a bold statement, people will probably disagree with me. People more on the conservative side when it comes to politics, like if you're focusing on politics with your social media, we try, it seems like, on this side to follow things a little more straight and narrow. Not always. I've seen stuff that I'm like, oh, dude, come on, man. Like, don't post that or don't comment that on both sides. But, because the thing is, I feel like conservatives definitely ran into some situations these last couple years where even when we were following the quote-unquote rules, we were getting in trouble with social media. We were posting things that we felt, with our common sense and with our values, that they were correct. They were right. And some of these things have come out that they were correct. But at the time, I'm thinking specifically things related to the pandemic, things of that sort, right? They were shutting down accounts. They were, fact checkers were on fire all over the place. So even when we were posting things that we thought were correct or were right, and some of these things now have come to be proven true, it's definitely like, oh, wait a minute. Nope, this is more an opinion thing at this point, right? So that got hard. I really have to admit that. And I was telling Haley a story about how I did a post on my story over a year ago. And she called me out. She goes, is it a highlight now to this day? And I said, ooh, I don't know, maybe. Because if it was just a story, it is gone in 24 hours, right? If it's a highlight, obviously it's still stuck in my stuff. Or not stuck.
Well, it's on your page and people could click in.
Yeah. Right, it's pinned. But I just got a notification the other day that fact checkers flagged that post. And I'm like, what the hell? This is a year old. And truth be told, there was validity to it. So I was actually even more annoyed because I'm like, this has been proven true now, number one. And number two, this is a year ago, right? So beyond that, right? So that was definitely just kind of me on my soapbox for a minute. But anyone more on the conservative side, you sat there and you nodded your head and you're like, yep, 100%. But when it comes to being ethical, following rules on social media, it's kind of easy to ignore those rules if you want to be a jerk off. If you want to be, one of those freaking keyboard warriors hiding behind your computer, your phone rather, just being a dick. Harassment online is so easy. Whether you call it bullying or harassment, I don't give a shit. Nonetheless, it's not kind. No. And it's so much easier to do it. I sit here sometimes and I think, wait a minute, accounts got blocked because they used the word vaccine? Because for a while that was flagging. Accounts were getting blocked. But
or even, I feel like it's more like jab.
Yeah, jab.
Because, all the left-leaning people could use vaccine and they'd be fine.
Correct. You're right. It was jab. But either way, so that word was flagging. Accounts were getting shut down. I don't think any of those ones got shut down permanently. I could be wrong. But more like getting put in, social media jail, as they call it, right? But yet, these keyboard warriors can go say the nastiest shit, and it doesn't matter. So, that one can be frustrating. Mm-hmm. Another thing to watch out for is fake accounts. And these are accounts that not only you're like, wait a minute, I got one this week. It was supposed to be my best friend. Well, number one, they spelt his name wrong. And it's the easiest name in the world. And I screenshotted it and sent it to him, and he's like, seriously, they couldn't even get my name right? I mean, these people do that kind of stuff all the time. So you got to be cautious about that. But another thing to be aware of is when they pretend to be you. So if you are somebody that's more a public figure, celebrity, a politician, people could go out, make a, fake account in your name, and then go out and act like they're you, and basically trash your name because of the shit that they're going to do. That's why they do have the verified accounts on a lot of these platforms now. But even some of those are getting a little funky. So it's definitely something we all have to be aware of.
Well, and especially with Twitter now.
Yeah.
How you buy it. That's so much easier. And then, 2, with, like, the fake accounts, the people that have, like, nothing, and then they just come after you.
Trolls.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, those are fun.
That one about you is so funny.
Some of them you just gotta laugh at. But yeah, so fake accounts, essentially, now 3 ways. So pretending to be other people, pretending to be you, or yeah, just a fake account that's a troll. Another thing, that I, was talking about was thinking about was being ethical with social media. Obviously, okay, you want to follow the rules, right? That's like number 1. But also thinking, be ethical personally on social media. Meaning, go on there and be you. Align your stuff with your brand. But do it respectfully. If you are a brand that's, kind of pushing the limits. Which people in politics definitely do. But that doesn't mean you have to go out and be a jerk. Right? I mean, there's probably people out there that think I'm a jerk for some of the comments that I make. But end of the day, like, I could go back and read my comments. Okay, maybe not 5-10 years ago, but my comments now, I could go back and I'm like, yeah, I was stern, or I really held to my point, and they may have not liked that, but I wasn't cruel. I didn't attack them. Keep it on the high road.
I see your point, but again, this is what I'm thinking.
Right.
As an example.
Yep, exactly. Even if people don't agree with you, you can still take the high road. Even if they go low blow. Trust me, there is points, oh my Lanta. People will say stuff, and sometimes it's people that I have dirt on. I mean, it's people from my past or things of that sort. And I'm like, oh my goodness, God, you are so testing me right now. And I zip it. I keep it respectful. I stay on the high road. Yeah, I may have some zippers in there, meaning like I'm going to put you like, I'm going to snap to it, right? But I will not do a low blow. Which I can tell you is a test from God every time. Because Jenna 15 years ago loved low blows. Okay. So those were our 4 topics that we kind of wanted to go over. So being ethical online, how to increase your engagement, your participation, how it's extremely customizable, and how you can get info faster than fast. Smorgasbord of tips here. 1, when you get onto social media, the biggest thing you need to ask yourself, what is my goal with this social media? What am I trying to accomplish? Or what am I trying to find, right? If you're more using it to set yourself up finding information. Have an end goal in mind. Have a, this is what this is for in mind. So you aren't, number 1, not going on there and just wasting time all the time. And I'm pointing at my daughter, right? And here's the deal. Sometimes social media, yeah, it is for me to go on and connect, or it is for me to go on and be entertained, but just keep some boundaries on that. Just keep some limits. She nods. Sure. Like for you, I mean, that is your goal essentially with social media, right? Entertainment, connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why it's there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The second tip, you yourself in your account, Be as authentic as you can and transparent as you can with boundaries. You know, ones that are going to keep you healthy and safe and keep your family healthy and safe. Hale's had some really good points in this, so I want you to talk a little bit about like some of those tips you were talking about.
So I know with moms, they like to post a lot about their kids, which completely fair. But like you said, boundaries. Like some parents, and this isn't true for all of them because it's just what you think is right. Like covering faces.
Yep.
And even you did bring this up too, of just like even other kids. Like if you feel comfortable posting your own daughter or son's face online, but still blocking out like maybe other kids whose parents could have a completely different view, and just being respectful of that.
So like when they're in a group, like when I take Mac's picture at swimming lessons, I'll blur out or put emojis over the other kids' faces. Yeah. Yep.
And then, like with like covering stuff, like covering logos of like schools or like sports teams that could show where you live.
Yeah.
And maybe staying away from like tagging schools and putting schools as a location.
That blew me away when you said that one.
Yeah. And you brought this up. But the boards.
Yeah.
Like for blank's first day of school, putting name of the school, name of the teacher, and
I mean, you're giving people a roadmap to where your kid is going to be Monday through Friday, 8 till 2. For the next 9 months.
Yeah. That's definitely scary. Especially with the way that people are nowadays.
Right.
With that kind of stuff.
Right. So definitely, having those boundaries in play for your kids. Number 2, having them in place for yourself, right? Especially, males, for sure, they have their things they need to be safe about. But females, we do have to be a little more heightened on safety awareness. So, exactly, don't post where you're going to be all the time either.
Yeah.
You don't need to say, if you are a political candidate, heading on vacation for a week with my family. Like, come on. Like, maybe when you get back. But don't do it before. Because then people are going to know, hey, they're not there for a whole week. And you are more in the public eye. A lot of times, let's face it, political people, your addresses are getting leaked. If you're in a business, too, don't post all that stuff because then people are going to know essentially your business is not going to be watched for a week. You would just need to be safe. End of the day, safety is priority because sometimes the world is freaking scary.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Social media. The first word says it all. Make sure if you're on social media, be social. That's what it's there for. And Haley, she called my attention to this a little bit already, but, for me, I'm like, well, you got to post then, right? Okay, that's not everybody's jam. But here's the deal. Then still go on there and be social. Like people's stuff, heart it, watch it, comment, engage. That's the point.
And it doesn't always have to be like actual posts. I feel like, because I always go like, you're posting an actual, is it just called a post on Instagram?
I think so. Yeah.
Instead of like a story. Like, I feel like stories would still.
Yeah.
Just because it's not there.
It's so cool.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And then our last comment, last tip, make sure when you're posting, when you're commenting, think in your head, what will I or what will other people think about this in 5 years? You might have to second guess yourself a little bit. Like, maybe I shouldn't post this.
Yeah, if you're like heated looking at a comment or even a post and you're like typing out this nasty comment, maybe give yourself a minute or two to breathe, you know. Maybe reread it a few times.
Right.
Make sure you're not just sending something away that you're not going to be able to take back.
Right.
Because you can delete it, but people are still probably going to see it.
Oh, for sure.
That happen.
And screenshot the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well, and...
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. And, okay, I do think this one, people are like, oh, yeah, I've heard that a million times. I'm decently good at that. All right, cool. Start scrolling back. Start cleaning things up then. You know, if you're an individual, maybe you want to do this. Like, maybe you don't want your kids to see this. Or maybe you're going on the job hunt and you're like, shit, I don't want potential recruiters or hiring managers to see this stuff, right? If you're a business owner or you're trying to build a brand for a business, definitely scroll back. If you're in politics, yeah, you definitely need to do this.
For sure.
You know, scrolling through your own feed, it's time consuming. It's a pain in the ass. I've had to do it. Because, I mean, ramblings of an addict. Yeah, I had a fair amount of pictures that I needed to get rid of. For sure. Especially, you know, when I went for my first big girl job and I was going to go work in the schools and I knew that they'd probably look at my social media. Yeah, I went through and deleted a lot of images that they probably don't want somebody working in the school kicking off keg stands and passed out on driveways and things like that. And yet, for some dumb reason, you know, when you're 21 years old, that's funny to post that shit. But when you're, you know, older and looking at more serious types of careers or things of that sort, it's not so funny. Haley made actually a really good comment. You were talking about comments too. Like, you should also be aware of trying to go back and delete comments.
Mm-hmm.
And that's overwhelming as hell to think about.
Oh, for sure.
And this came up at a recent class that I was in. And I asked about that. And I guess there's companies now. So if you're running a business or you are, you know, in politics, there's companies you can hire that will do this for you. I'm sure you give them parameters or something of that sort. I haven't done this, so I don't have all the details, but companies will go through all your stuff and delete stuff that's not aligned, so you don't have to worry. It should be gone. I think, like Haley said, we're in the day and age where don't be surprised if somebody already has a screenshot, but you're getting rid of the majority of things, right? Any other final tips from you, my dear?
I feel like I had one, but it slipped my mind. Which is definitely not new, so I'm not really surprised.
All right. Well, with that, as we conclude this episode, it's clear that social media is an incredibly powerful tool in shaping many different arenas of life. Personal, business, political. While it offers incredibly rapid information, customizable branding, increased, pretty cheap engagement, we need to also remember that there's plenty of challenges that come with social media. Remember, like thinking about those echo chambers or the ethical concerns. Keep your focus on remembering what the goal of your social media presence is all about and ensuring that is aligned with who you are your values, that you're promoting your authentic self, trying to be as transparent with healthy boundaries as you can. By being socially responsible, we can harness the potential of social media for more of the positive pieces of it. All right, friends, remember, as always, every day, put on that armor of God. And I can tell you it's going to come in handy on social media as well. Stay engaged, stay informed, and remember that your voice matters. As we wrap up, I want to thank you, Hales, for popping on again.
Of course.
And with that, I will catch you all in the next rambling.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Remember, if you are battling an addiction, reach out for help and support. There are many resources available to assist in your journey towards recovery. Surround yourself with a supportive community and never give up on the path towards a healthier and happier life. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and joining me on this journey. As you heard, I'm always rambling. But seriously, thank you for your support and make sure to subscribe and follow my channel. I can't wait to share more with you on the next episode. Until then, keep on rambling. If you have found this podcast helpful and want to dive deeper into personal growth and self-improvement, be sure to head over to my website, jennadix.com. You'll find a wealth of resources there. There is a little less drugs, sex, and rock and roll these days, but whether you're interested in getting healthy, information on momming or parenting, or politics, jennadix.com has something for everyone. So, what are you waiting for? Head to jennadix.com today and start your journey towards personal growth and self-awareness. See you there.